never eat like kimchi before you go to the movies, especially a movie like this where it's really quiet most of the time. Because then you're gonna have to find yourself trying to like sneak the fart out during the loud moments, which aren't very often. Anyway, saw Blade Runner 2049 finally. I enjoyed it. I did. I was very that's English. I was very skeptical going into it, being such a huge fan of the original movie and everything. When I heard, that they were gonna either remake Blade Runner or do a sequel or some shit like that, I was like, I remember hearing that around the time when Tron Legacy came out, because I think then they also were, I don't know if they're still trying to develop it, like a Logan's Run kind of redo thing. Although they did do that in time thing, which was like digital look. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. But like I said, I was very apprehensive about this movie. I remember seeing like, when they did the teaser trailer, I was like, alright, it looks good. So you know what, even if it kind of sucks, it still looks good, kind of like with Tron Legacy, where like it looked good, the story was pretty weak, but it looked good, and they used technology pretty well in reference to the previous movie kind of stuff. This one, like, definitely looked good, because motherfucker was using, what's his name, Roger Deakins as cinematographer, and bless his fucking heart for being fucking amazing at his job. I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people are not gonna like it. And just like Blade Runner fans aside, I feel like just regular people just be like that asshole, because I think it's like this movie, the pacing is a bit on the slower side, which with the original Blade Runner, that's what it was. It's also just like it's a different kind of sci-fi movie. Of course, it's not that different because there's that source material, but I know that a lot of people aren't gonna enjoy it because they think it like. I guess they expect probably a little bit more action to it and all that stuff, which understandably so. But yeah, I enjoyed it, like at first I wasn't sure where they were going with like the storyline, because, like I said in the teaser, you're like, okay, cool, it's Ryan Gosling. Alright, it's Ryan Gosling. I'm like, alright, I guess I'll watch Ryan Gosling in a movie. Gonna be like, I'm gonna go see that Ryan Gosling movie, like, alright, yeah, and then, like, with the further trailers, you saw that, Harrison Ford's in it, so you're like, okay, cool. So we're gonna reference them and all that stuff. Like I said, I was fine with this. I really was. Again, visually, like, I'm gonna keep talking about how visually it was just beautiful. But visually, it was beautiful. It's just to be the film snob, that aspect ratio is just so amazing. But anyway, enough being that asshole. But yeah, so story-wise, it's about Kay, who is Ryan Gosling, and he is a replicant, but he works for the police. I was going to say the police office. Wow, the police department for the LAPD, and he does what Harrison Ford's character was, which was find like the replicant models and retire them and all that shit. You kind of see how his life is like as a replicant. He because he is in a sense like not really human. So you see that whenever something happens while he's on the job, he has to go through like these tests to make sure that he doesn't malfunction anyway. You see him in his home life, he kind of like paid money to get like this, like hologram of a girlfriend kind of thing. And it's kind of like really, really sad, because it's like, I don't want to just use the word robot because that's not what they are, but you see someone who is not really a person, who's not really human, kind of going through like loneliness and like kind of like normal human being things, but he's not really like, oh god, did I just wipe out half my dry erase board? Anyway, but you don't really see him emote very much, he kind of does his job. He speaks like very much like at this tone. He's always this. He doesn't speak any louder. He doesn't shout. He's just always at this tone whenever he's speaking. So, um, and at times it does seem very like monotone and kind of mundane, and kind of like dialogue scenes do feel kind of little like, boring because of that, because of like the way how he talks, and how like other replicants he talks to kind of talk like this, and all have that tone where they're talking, and then stuff happens and it's just kind of in this tone. But it works though, because then when he has like scenes with like Robin Wright, which, oh fuck, I didn't realize she was in it. Robin Wright's in it, she's human and she's like his boss, and she's like, what the fuck? So it's like her having these, emotions and being like, like, you gotta do your job, you gotta do this, I gave you a fucking assignment. And he's like, yeah, I did it, I did everything, I finished it, I accomplished it. And it's kind of like, it's a little bit like, whoa, but, it is a bit of a reminder that, he's not, fully human. And even the scenes where replicants are speaking, it's like that too. And then, of course, there's a little bit of the action stuff, because they, like, the other replicant knows, like, alright, you're here to fucking, like, retire me kind of shit. So, like, the scene with, like, freaking Dave Bautista and all that shit, and he just, like, throws him through a wall and all that crazy stuff. That was great. Yeah, so... Yes, so really what it is like, it starts with Dave Bautista, he has to retire him, he ends up retiring him. He finds himself kind of like, there's like the tree, like this kind of dead tree, the white tree of Gondor, of Minas Tirith, is there. Anyway, so they're like, oh, there's something underground, and it's like a box, ends up being like a military footlocker, that kind of stuff. There's bones inside of it, there's hair. They find out it's a woman who had died via childbirth and all this stuff. And you find out that it's Rachel, Sean Young's character from, the original. Which made me go like, okay, so, like, it made me think, okay, so we're not just gonna reference or just have Harrison Ford here kind of thing. Like, we're really bringing kind of everyone else in there. And then while... they're pretty much going to be like, okay, so if this replicant had a baby, like, where's the baby? So Ryan Gosling's, his assignment is to find the baby, like, find the kid. So it's pretty much like, that's the movie right there where he's trying to find it. So he's, like, kind of digging deep and figuring out all this other stuff. God damn, I had a thought in my brain. Oh, yeah. Nope, it went away again. It was like, so then, he goes to, like, the Wallace spot, just find more records and shit, because they said there was, like, a huge blackout that happened, like, not too long ago, so a lot of records are hard to find. And I feel like it's a very good plot point, for that, just because, of course, it makes the movie kind of, like, oh god, excuse me, so it obviously makes the hunt a little bit harder, rather than just, like a scene where someone's just, like, at the computer like that, like, or like, because it's futuristic, so it's just like boop 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 boop, like in thin air kind of shit, like boop 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 boop, like found it here, movie solved, 90 minutes kind of stuff. But instead, this movie is like 2 hours and 44 minutes, so practically with trailers it was like 3 hours, which was fine, there's no complaint. Like, I enjoyed the entire time of it. So yeah, you find out that, and then oh yeah, so like I said, he goes and finds, like, tries to find files within the people and the places. I'm great with languages. And that's where you meet Jared Leto. And a couple times I felt like Jared Leto was still, like, in the mindset of the Joker, because it was just like, here, let me just slash this woman apart, and, he had, like, a knife kind of thing, and he was just, like, you could tell he was getting a little bit too into that character. And I'm, like, reading on IMDb that, because his character's supposed to be blind, that, like, he wore lenses just so he can really feel like what it is to be blind, and it's like, alright, I get it. As long as you're not sending, like, dead animals to your colleagues and all that stuff, that's fine. But anyway... So, he finds Jared Leto. But anyway, I'm glad Jared Leto wasn't in the movie that long. Like, he's in there in that splurt, you heard me. And then a little bit towards, like, the third act. And then really that's it, which is fine. Because I remember when I think the final trailer came out, and because like it's like teaser where you see Ryan Gosling, then it's like the next trailer and then you see Harrison Ford, then the final one you see Jared Leto. And I remember someone that I follow on Tumblr had like posted, it was like Jared Leto in my Blade Runner movie. But he was fine, looking like frickin' Jesus and all that stuff. But anyway, so he has his little, like, perfect replicant lady who, like, kicks ass and all this other shit and does thy bidding, you know, because always, like, that's, like, the sci-fi kind of, I guess, trope or something, because if you have, like, a robot android non-human being, it's always a hot chick who kicks ass kind of stuff, but fine, well, fine, you know, she did kick some fucking ass, so, you know, although it was Ryan Gosling's ass, and you're like, I got it, you know. But anyway, so yeah, he's looking for all this stuff. He finds, like, this girl who kind of, like, lives inside Cerebro, you know, who, like, makes memories, because he's, like, realizing, like, you know, he's like, well, I never really had a childhood, like, why do I have these childhood memories? Are these real? You know, like, all this stuff happens, you know, more, and it just pretty much, like, throughout all that, you're kind of going through, like, I don't want to say his day-to-day, that makes it sound kind of boring, but, like, you see him just like, alright, I'm outside eating food, kind of, not exactly, but kind of like the Chinatown scene with Harrison Ford, where he's just, like, eating noodles, and they're like, hey, but he's there, like, having his, like, you know, rice, and then, like, a couple ladies are like, hey, you know, that kind of shit. There was one thing that got me kind of upset, just because I'm like, we're in the Blade Runner universe, that when you know, because it rains and all that stuff, they didn't have the glowing, umbrella. I'm doing the shaft gesture. They didn't have glowing umbrellas. I was kind of, like, upset about that. I'm like, everyone's got umbrellas. Like, come on, put some lights on it. Fuck. Put some fucking lights on it. Like, that's the thing from Blade Runner. That, like, was, like, one of the things, but it was, like, one of the really, like, cool futuristic things I saw when I was little. I was like, oh my god, tell you want my umbrella to be, like, glowing with lights, which is funny, because I kind of bought some lights to put on my umbrella, because I'm an adult taxpayer with a job and my own business anyway, so, it's a busy Sunday night, but yeah, so, like, that part, that was, like, that's, like, my nitpick, that's my nitpick, that's, like, the nitpick I have for it, but other than that, like, whatever. You know, of course they have all the holographic CGI whatever, like, ads that pop up ads, wow. All that stuff happening. Like I said, everything else is fine. But yeah, so then, like, further along, more, like, I don't want, it makes it seem like it's boring, but, like, tons of dialogue scenes of, like, figuring things out, like, figuring out, you know, there, a lot, like I said, the movie is very quiet a lot of times, even with the score, because it's either, like, people are just very, like, monotone, just talking at this tone where everything is at this level talking, or it's like a lot of scenes where Ryan Gosling is just by himself and he's just like looking and observing, you know, he's just like, you know, like things are happening, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of that, you know, like I said, slow pace, but it's not padding, nor is it like, get on with it kind of shit. It's just like, okay, you know, like, it's, yeah, anyway, yeah, on to, you know, like, pretty much the third act when they as in us, all of us, we finally see Harrison Ford. They pretty much get into, like a punching match. They get kind of, they kind of wrestle around a little. And pretty much they're just like, and you find them in Vegas, and it was pretty much just like, we could keep fighting or we could, like, have a drink, you know? And of course they, like, share some whiskey, which this movie is sponsored by fucking Jim Beam. Jim Beam? Johnny Walker? Johnny Walker. That's what it is. Not Jim, right? Hold on. I don't drink stuff. So I'm like, I don't fucking know. I think it's Johnny Walker. Wait, it's Johnny Walker. Yeah. I was like, fuck, should I know? I don't drink things. But yeah, like, Johnny Walker, because during, like, the scenes, like, of course, outside, all that stuff, you saw, like, Johnny Walker, like, the logo all over the place, and then, like, they're there, like, with the thing, and, like, bloop, 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 you know, with it. Of course, because this movie is produced by Sony, so, of course, there's a lot of, like, Sony products, like the jukebox, I said jute, like it's some twine shit. The jukebox is, you know, Sony, a lot of other products are Sony, which I'm like, that fair game. I like that they still had the Pan Am building, you know, and then there was one part where I just saw the logo, they didn't say the name yet. I'm like, what's that, Atari? And then it's like, Atari, and I was like, oh wow. I like that they kept that in, you know, because that's what was in the other ones. You know, they still kept with a lot of like East Asian things. Like a lot of things are written in Japanese, and other times randomly it's Chinese. And then the building that Harrison Ford's living in has Korean in it. Part of me feels like, was that just like the thing just to get all like the basic three East Asians out there, or were they just like, that all looks like the same language, just pop it all in, you know? Anyway, but yeah, when you finally when finally, yeah, so the whole thing with Harrison Ford and all that stuff, and the entire time you think that Ryan Gosling is Harrison Ford's kid. You think like that's their son, because you're led to believe that. Like all these clues were leading you to believe that, you know, and it's one of those things where I think it was smart of them to be like, you know, a lot of times it's like the audience is smarter than the movie, but this time the movie kind of outsmarted the audience, because it's like, no, we wanted, like we were like, look over here while we're happy, you know, that kind of stuff, where you're like, okay, you know, like me, I was even thinking like, okay, so at one point they're just like, it's just gonna be like, son, and he's like, I'm Ryan Gosling, you know, that kind of stuff, but turns out he has a daughter, all that stuff, and he was like, daughter, what? And it's like all this, like, other kerfuffle on with it, you know, like, the girl from the San Juniper episode of Black Mirror is there as his, like, physical love interest, even though he has his, like, digital love interest, but he if you want to physically fuck something, you know, she was there, and then it was like this lady who was like, oh, because like it was pretty much like this older lady, and they were saying to Ryan Gosling, they're like, you have to find the child, or like you have to find Deckard, like just find these people and blah blah blah, because if we know that replicants can replicate, then you know we can be self-sustaining and blah 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 blah, independent, all that stuff. I'm just not making this movie sound that interesting, aren't I? But anyway, so anywho, so all happens. I thought they were gonna kill off Harrison Ford, like just be like a Force Awakens thing. Like he just comes back from old franchises and then they just kill him. Like, oh, if there's gonna be another Indiana Jones movie, they're just gonna kill him there. You know, just like let's just keep just killing him off. But I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he didn't die, because I was just kind of like, no, you know, like I understand for them to do that for Star Wars. I'm like, just not Blade Runner, please, not Blade Runner. Like, believe me, Star Wars means a lot to me in my life, and a whole, like, you know, one of those people. But, like, Blade Runner is, like, a different part of my life where it means a fucking lot, you know. And also, wearing a Red Dwarf shirt, I felt like it was the most fitting thing to wear to Blade Runner movie. No one knows what the fuck this shirt is about. It was great. Everyone in the theater was just really confused on why I was wearing, like, what's this shirt? What is it? Yeah. The back says Smeg Off. Yeah. Anyway. One of my finest finds at a convention. Like, what? Anyway, back to the movie. So, anyway, this is almost like 20 minutes long. So, like I said, really like Blade Runner 2049. Like, they used the ideas from the previous movie, brought it into this one, and nothing was like convoluted, you know? Like, there were some parts where, like, alright, it's kind of a bit of a stretch, but nothing made me just go, oh, for fuck's sakes, you know, that kind of stuff. Oh, having Sean Young come back, like, kind of voicing Rachel, you know, they had played, like, a couple clips from the previous movie, and then you hear her, like, you know, she does the voice of it, because, of course, like, obviously she has aged as well, so they had, like, they kind of CGI'd someone to be Sean Young, you know, because when they showed the clip of, like, Sean Young walking in, this is how she walks into the room, and, you know, from the previous movie, but then when they, like, Jared Leto was like, I got your boo bag, and then she kind of, like, walks in, you know, and it's like, my face is on this face, you know. I was kind of like, oh, man. It's much better job than, like, you know, it wasn't one of those, like, oh, wait, hold on, whoop, 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 no. It was good, And I like that with, you know, Deckard was just like, yeah, you got our eyes wrong. Ah. You know, and then, like, sexy android woman's like, alright, boop, like that. I'm not, yeah, like, thank God she died in the end, but it's one of those, like, you're gonna get your comeuppance, whatever, you're gonna get got. Anyway, that was English. So, trailers. It wasn't actually that many trailers, there's usually a lot more, because, okay, I thought I almost hit Google Maps. I'm like, Jesus. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think, what was the last movie I saw? And it was like, God, I forgot what was the last movie. I'm burping. I don't know, some previous movie I saw, it fucking, like, was more trailers than anything. But then again, this movie's longer, so they probably decided... No, oh, Kingsman, yeah, I'm, like, looking at my YouTube. Yeah, Kingsman, it had, like, plethora of them. But anywho, so, Darkest Hour, I have no idea what that is. Let me goes on the IMDb. Darkest... No, that's not how you spell Darkest Hour... Oh, it's the one where Gary Oldman plays Winston Churchill. Yeah, you know, the makeup looks great. Like, I would be interested in seeing it just for the makeup on Gary Oldman looking like Winston Churchill, because I remember seeing this, I forgot when, probably during the summer or something, and I remember I was just like, this actor looks familiar, the voice is familiar, and then when they were like, Academy Award winning, like, you know, Gary Oldman, I was like, what? The next one is Annihilation, and I think that's the one with Natalie Portman, and it's based on a book about things and stuff. I wonder what the IMDb is. Annihilation. Yeah, what does it say? A biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition where the laws of nature don't apply. Right, because this is by the director of Ex Machina, because for a split second you see Oscar Isaac in it, and then Benedict Wong is in it, that girl from the, what's her name, the Jane the Virgin or something. Yeah, so, oh, and then what's her name from Dear White People, and Thor Ragnarok is in it. Then we have Pacific Rim 2, which the trailer came out during Comic-Con weekend, and we saw it, and it was fucking awesome, and then we're at the Pacific, you know, Rim. I keep wanting to say Pacific Rim, there's something wrong with me. But anyway, that trailer came on, it looks so amazing on such a huge screen, and I'm all giddy, because it's fucking Pacific Rim. But, yeah. Then it's Roman J. Israel Esquire. It's a movie with Denzel playing like a lawyer, and then shit happens, and this is back in the time. I actually thought it was like they were gonna do like Johnny Cochran's like younger years. I don't know. That's racist. I guess if you could say that. But anyway, so there's that. Then the next one is Murder on the Orient Express. That looks like fun. You know, it's like all these well-known actors, all that shit. You know, I'd be interested in seeing it just because, you know, I really like all the actors and stuff that are in it, and it's just, you know, it's one of those like ensemble cast kind of movies. After that, like, I love the tonal shift where they show that, and then right after that is Disaster Artist, you know, with James Franco and stuff. I was the only one in the theater who laughed. Like, I don't think people in that theater knew what the fuck that it's based on, because the moment like the trailer starts with just the little rooftop thingy, so I just immediately started laughing, and I'm just hearing people like kind of like, where's the like, as I'm still cracking up. And then of course he comes out. It's the scene where, you know, and I remember, I haven't got a chance to fully read the book, but I remember part of the book where the guy who played Mark said that it took like 60 plus takes for for Tommy Wiseau to do the whole like, I did not hit her, it's bullshit, I did not, oh hi Mark, like that scene apparently just took so long, and that was the trailer, which just everyone being like, come on man, this is the line, just get it, go. And yeah, so I can't wait for that, because that is fucking like perfect. But anyway, after that is Justice League, which again, another weird tonal shift. And I feel like since we've heard that, you know, Joss Whedon is now involved, even though I think it's still, no matter what, still could be under Zack Snyder's name, that like all of a sudden, like, trailers that we keep seeing have just been taking place more during the daytime. It's either during the daytime or it's still at night, but there's light happening. Like they you know, turn on, like it's like this, but then they're like, we turned on a lamp. You know, it's like directed by Zack Snyder, and then it's like Joss Whedon comes in to help. All right, cool. It's still nighttime, but they at least, like, you know, added a couple more lights, like on the sides, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm still gonna go see it. Probably, you know, nothing. I'm not gonna go crazy with it. You know, probably I don't know. Whenever Paul and I are gonna go see it, but anyway. So as my chair made a weird fart noise, camera's about to overheat as always. But yeah, Blade Runner 2049. Please support my Patreon, you know, like, subscribe, all that bullshit. Go on my Etsy, buy some art, because I have talent and skills. Follow me on Instagram, because I am an artist, and I would just like to be acknowledged for the work I do. Anyway, if you've gotten this far in the video. But, alright, I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna eat some more, because I'm a fat kid.